past 5,000 years, the island of Cyprus has provided an important trading link between North Africa, Asia and Europe. It was originally colonised by the Phoenicians and became renowned during Greek times as the place where Aphrodite, the goddess of love, was born. Over the years, it's been invaded numerous times, but one thing hasn't changed, and that's the cheese. I've come here to look at Haloumi. This delicious Cypriot cheese is historically related to the salty, marinated fresh cheeses of the Middle East and the semi-hard cooked cheeses of the Eastern Mediterranean. Known as halim by Turkish-speaking Cypriots and Haloumi by Greek-speaking Cypriots, this cheese is enjoyed for breakfast, lunch and dinner all over the island. Originally created by nomadic shepherds using a combination of fresh goat and ewe's milk, it's now copied all over the world by large industrial dairies using cow's milk. Authentic Haloumi, handmade the traditional way, has become very rare. So I've come to Cyprus to find out more about it. Cyprus is the third largest island in the Mediterranean, and ever since the discovery of rich copper deposits in the 3rd century BC, it's had a long and complicated history of occupation. The ancient Greeks, Romans, Byzantines, Ottoman Turks, and even the British have governed here. But somehow, this versatile cheese has managed to stay above the divisive politics, although no one seems to agree on whether the original mixed milk version or the cow's milk version should carry the famous name. In ancient Greek times, Cyprus was renowned as the birthplace of the mythical goddess Aphrodite, who is said to have risen from the foam in the sea near Paphos on the west coast. Aphrodite could make any man fall in love with her on sight, and her story was so good it was later adapted by the Romans in the story of Venus. Legend has it that this is where Aphrodite came to bathe after entertaining her numerous lovers. It's fed by mountain streams, and it's in those mountains where you find some of the finest milk for making cheese. For thousands of years, flocks of sheep and goats have grown fat, grazing on the rich spring pastures that grow in these hills. Is this breed one of the traditional breeds, or is it just an introduced breed?
I think so. We'll have
Helping me on my Cypriot journey is my old friend, Sotiris Kitrilakis. This pasture here, this is full of flower at this time of year. When does it start to dry off?
It'll be June, July, when this will all turn yellow.
They're really good-looking goats. They're very healthy.
The calico over there, black and
yeah, they're all
brown and white.
They've got some big udders on them.
Yeah.
Do they come out all night or just during the day?
I think they only come out during the day.
Tell me something about Cyprus. Tell me something about its history.
Cyprus is a large island, the largest in the Mediterranean. It's quite fertile, and it has a long-standing tradition of breeding animals. The animals that were used for milk and cheese making, of course, have always been sheep and goats. Whatever cattle was on the island was used as draft animals. They did the work. It's only very recently that cow's milk is being used for cheese making or any other purpose.
As we drove into the rugged hills, Sotiris explained why Haloumi is a very practical cheese.
People on the island make primarily two kinds of cheese. And Haloumi, which is the best known, is a cheese that is kneaded. It's in the pasta pilata family. It is then cooked essentially in very hot way, and you can see that that makes a lot of sense in a hot climate where, of course, cheese was not kept by refrigeration, but rather was aired in a cool pantry somewhere. And having boiled your cheese, basically you were assured of a much longer life. The other cheese they make with the whey left over from Haloumi is Anari, Anari is a fresh cheese. Most of it is eaten within 2 or 3 days. Some of it is dried and used as a grating cheese.
Milk production on the island is very seasonal and water is precious, so nothing is wasted in the cheese-making process.
And this is where the magic of traditional Haloumi begins. In here is a mixture of ewe and goat's milk. The ratio changes according to the season, but it makes the very finest cheese.
After the milk has been coagulated with rennet, the fresh curd is cut into cubes and then scooped into small baskets to drain.
How long will it drain for?
Usually it's drained for about 10 minutes, and then you will flip them over onto these cooking trays. Prepare for cooking.
So that it's basically drained for an hour and a half, flipped over a couple of times, and then
Flipped over a couple of times to these trays, and then prepare for cooking.
Okay. It's really simple.
These days we have to wait until the rain comes out, and then we halloumi.
When you look at Haloumi, it's like a square block, and you look at it like this, they don't look anything like the same together.
It's actually the traditional handmade halloumi is a half moon. It's not a square. A square is the machine made there. When they make it by hand, they get a flat pie, as you will see, which gets folded into.
Right. And it's pushing down helps just to drain a little bit. After the curd's been used to make halloumi, the whey is transferred to this vat over here where it's heated up for a couple of hours. What's left rises to the surface and it's made into a cheese called Anari.
When the whey has reached the correct temperature, more fresh milk and salt is added, and small flecks of curd slowly rise to the surface.
So basically, once it's risen to the surface, the curds all slowly bond together before they're pulled off in these sieves and put in there.
They are then gently scooped off and placed in tall cylindrical hoops to drain.
So this is very rich in protein. It has a certain amount of lactose and virtually no fat. And after we get through with this, after we pick up all this curd, what will be left is basically water. Because we will have taken all the protein away, and there is the water that was in the milk, and we'll use that water to actually cook our halloumi that we made in it, raise the temperature, tighten the protein in the curd.
And this is where the process gets really interesting. Until now, this is really just a fresh strained curd. But what's going to happen is it's taken and put into this big hot vat of whey left over from making Anari. As it sits in the whey, it cooks, which is what gives it that lovely firm texture.
The baskets are slowly submerged in the scalding hot whey on trays and gently poached. The combination of milk types is very important. The rich, fatty ewe's milk will balance the salty marinade, whilst the goat's milk adds a lingering flavour and fine, silky texture when the cheese is cooked.
What I'm gonna do now is I'll prepare a special treat for you.
A special treat?
Special
treat.
treat.
Let's go try it.
Fresh, warm Anari, straight from the vat, smothered in sweet carob syrup. Apparently a dish traditionally enjoyed by the hungry cheesemakers during their rest periods.
Terrific. Very sweet. Wonderful.
It's quite different. You get that sweet saltiness of the fresh curd, and it balances with the slightly burnt caramel flavour of the carob. It's delicious.
After 90 minutes, the cheeses are cooked and ready to be raised from their steamy hot bath. After a quick rinse in cold water to cool them down a little, the warm, pliable cheeses are removed and folded over into a traditional half-moon shape.
It's really, really hot. You just fold it like that. It's really hot.
At this stage, dried mint is usually added to the centre of the cheese, a tradition which I suspect comes from the Middle East. But after speaking with the cheesemaker, I learn that mint also leaves yellow discoloration specks in the cheese. And after complaints from customers, it's now added just before the cheese is packed. Our next stop was the local market, which offered a huge array of unusual produce, including more handmade farm cheese. After my discussions with the cheesemaker about the traditions of dried mint, I was very curious to learn the real story. So I asked Sotiris for his thoughts.
The use of mint is something that's very pervasive. A lot of Cypriot food uses mint. It's, of course, abundantly available, wild mint, spearmint, I believe, and they loved its flavor. They use it with meat, they use it with cheese, of course, they use it with fish, they use it in savory and sweet products.
Δεν τη θέλω την κυρία, μου κάνε ζημιά μεγάλη που δεν διορθώνεται. Κι όλα εξαγοράζονται, πουλούνται και αγοράζονται. Σε παίρνει πέσει. Είναι ωραίο, να.
To learn more about traditional homemade Cypriot cheese, Sotiris suggested I visit Fedora Theolodou, who's been making halloumi for more than 40 years. The way she makes halloumi is typical of the method once commonly used in many Cypriot homes. But over the past 30 years, this has become increasingly rare.
Hello.
Άρα,
Καλώς ορίσετε.
ευχαριστούμε.
Ευχαριστώ.
Fedora makes cheese in a tiny room behind the house, using only fresh, unpasteurized milk from her own dairy herd.
The beginning is the wonderful milk,
Τιάνουν και στην ποσκίνταχτηνα, και τρομώνουν το έσω.
and it's what they eat. Their sheep have a wonderful diet of a lot of grasses, some grain, and it's the combination that gives you the best milk.
Production begins with a starter added to fresh raw milk. The ratio of goat to sheep's milk depends on the season, and today it's 60% goat milk. After the curds have been coagulated, you cut. They're gently transferred to old-fashioned wicker baskets, which are specially handmade in the mountains. The young cheeses are then flipped and pressed.
This pressing's really interesting because these baskets are flexible. Unlike the plastic, which just lets the curd drain, when she pushes these down, she can actually force the whey out much quicker.
The baskets leave a distinct impression on the surface of the cheese as one by one they're placed on the bench top to firm up. Salt is then added to the whey mixture to create Anari.
What's this? What's this? What's this?
Και τρουμπί.
Rubin, it's a kind of oregano,
Για να μην κολλήσει που κάτω.
and that scrapes the bottom so it doesn't stick. It's purely mechanical.
After about 20 minutes of heating the curds, they begin to gather on the surface. They're then scooped into a cylindrical plastic mould lined with pantyhose. After draining overnight, they'll be hung outside in a special cage to dry for a few weeks. The young halloumi are then placed in greaseproof paper and gently lowered into the salty whey to cook for about 90 minutes.
So this is what the men do whilst the women make the cheese. Hey, double four.
When they're ready, Fedora covers each cheese with salt. And thankfully, true to tradition, she adds dried mint leaves as the cheese is folded.
Most halloumi you'll find in vacuum packs these days, but this is the real way to store it, in brine. And these are about 15 days old. Well, I gather you can actually keep them for a year. They'll get really strong. Look at that. That's much, much harder.
Είναι χτεσινό, χτεσινό. Προδιαγραφές που στέλνει, δεν μπορούμε να τα
She
κάνουμε.
says she does not sell these cheeses to commercially. She only makes cheese for her family, for her friends, and that way there is no question about adhering to the European Union nonsense.
And can you ask her if she sees the future for this sort of cheese making with the next generation? Are they learning this art?
Είναι συχνά που βρίσκεις ανθρώπους που κάνουν τυρί στο σπίτι ή αυτό σιγά σιγά πεθαίνει?
Όχι, πεθαίνει, πεθαίνει.
Says it's getting to be less and less with the people that pass on, it's dying, and the factories are taking over.
So this could be the last time I ever get to try halloumi like homemade.
Ίσως να είναι η τελευταία φορά που θα φάει τέτοιο γαλούμι.
Δεν ξέρω.
Beautiful.
Ώσπου μπορώ εγώ να κάνω πάντως.
As long as she's around, she'll make it.
Ah, lovely.
Everyone knows halloumi is a wonderful cheese to cook with, but Sotiris has arranged for me to visit the home of friends of his high in the hills above Paphos to look at a different sort of recipe.
Now, I've been very lucky to be invited into the home of Christella and Nafita, and they're going to make a pita pie, a traditional pie made with halloumi cheese.
Christella begins by combining flour and olive oil into a large bowl. Once this has been mixed together, water is added bit by bit until a smooth dough is formed. The dough is covered and left to stand while several halloumi cheeses are cut into small cubes. A generous bunch of fresh mint is chopped and added to the cheese. The cheese and mint are then carefully kneaded with the dough until combined. The flavoured dough is then spread evenly across a large pita tray. Then it's into a moderate oven for about 45 minutes until it's deliciously brown.
So is this eaten as an afternoon tea or as a part of lunch? Or?
Αυτό τρώγεται με το κύριο γεύμα, είναι κάτι που τρώγεται με καφέ, με τσάι. Yeah, this is for tea or coffee.
You really taste this little bits of mint in it.
Wonderful.
I look forward to making that at home one day. Really good.
Είναι λέει πάρα πολύ όμορφο και θα το αντιγράψει μια μέρα, θα το φτιάξει και εκείνος.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cyprus has a long and checkered history, and in 1974, after centuries of simmering division between Greek and Turkish-speaking Cypriots, a third of the northern half of the island was occupied by Turkish forces following an attempted coup. thousands of Cypriots decided to migrate overseas, and one of those was George Kalambaris, who left the island when he was 8 and now runs a famous restaurant called the Press Club in my hometown of Melbourne. I thought it would be really interesting to find out how he served halloumi.
It's been on the menu here at the Press Club in our bar for a while now, and it's really simple. It's just some grilled halloumi. We just pan fry that off.
Right.
Now, what we do, we make some peppered figs. We've got these Iranian ones here, and you can make this well in advance and put it in jars and just keep it as you need it.
What's this here?
We've got some coriander seeds.
Yep.
Okay, so again, you know, that influence from the Middle East.
Yeah.
Some cloves, some cinnamon, some vanilla, which we'll just open up so it releases all that flavour into it. Okay, so that goes in. And we've got some balsamic vinegar. So they go on, and we just gently simmer them away, and what we end up with is this really rich, beautiful syrup that's been...
So how long would that been cooked for?
That'd take about 2 hours, and then you just pop it into sealable jars, let them cool down, and you can have it, they'll stay in the fridge for a good 6 months.
Okay.
In a hot pan. So I love the cheese because it's just it's so whimsical for me. It's what we grew up on, and you know, some of this grilled off, some fresh watermelon, you know, a little drizzle of honey, and you're done. Okay. So there we are.
That's very simple.
It's really important also just not to take it straight out of the fridge. Let it come to room temperature before you cook it off.
Yeah.
Just so the inside's not cold. And then literally your peppered figs, over the top, and take all that beautiful syrup that's been left over.
Beautiful, look at that.
And then a bit of our red Cahill, just to lift it up a bit. And then you've got a nice little sort of desserty, cheesy course.
Yeah. So you basically got your dessert and your cheese together.
That's right, that's right.
Fantastic.
I always knew that halloumi was the great grilled cheese of Cyprus. But perhaps the last word on this cheese should go to a Turkish gentleman by the name of SIDARI Effendi. He wrote a cooking book in which he claimed halloumi is good food which enhances sex. Perhaps there is something more to the legend of Aphrodite which history has forgotten. Why not try some Cypriot halloumi today? You won't be disappointed if you find the authentic handmade cheese.
I love Cyprus. How do you think of that?
No wonder you're smiling at the sun in the morning.